Comptroller and Auditor General of Bangladesh, OCAG senior officials participating in this conference on pilot audits and the mainstreaming of ISSAI complaint audits, consultants, project officials, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the conference arranged by Spemp-B. I am Mohammad Zakir Hussain, Assistant CAG, PhD CAG, welcoming you all to join us. I am seeking kind permission of the chief guest of today's conference, Mr. Masud Ahmed, Honorable Comptroller and Auditor General of Bangladesh, to begin the conference. Thank you, sir. We are beginning with recitation from the Holy Quran. I am requesting Mr. Muhammad Mahbubul Haq, Senior Finance Controller, Defense Purchase, to recite from the Holy Quran. Sir.
فاذكرني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون فاذكرني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون إن الله مع الصابرين صدق الله العظيم. And reject not faith with those who are impatient. In the light of this surah, let us remember our Lord.
I'd like to request Mr. Muhammad Zahurul Islam, Project Director Spemp-B, to deliver his welcome address before the audience. Sir.
Respected CGDA, CGA, DG FIBA, Deputy CNAG, Senior, ADG Finance Bangladesh Railway, expatriated national consultants, and my colleague. Assalamu alaikum and very good morning. I would like to take the opportunity to welcome you all to this program on experience sharing and challenges of mainstream issues of ISSAI compliant audits. We all know that under Goal 1 titled Enhance the Quality of Audit, some strategic objectives and activities have been identified in OCAG Strategic Plan 2013-2018 and performance coverage of performance audit. Start entity and risk-based auditing, develop entity and risk-based audit manuals and guidelines, raise awareness on the ISSAI's develop plan, audit procedures and program based on ISSAI's, venture into new auditing fields such as MTBF audit and financial statement audit, more emphasis on performance audit to train auditors and supervisors, develop core groups among audit managers and staff, encourage specialization in all levels, etc. are the major identified activities. We have arranged one detailed programming council budget in February 2014 and one workshop on ISSAI compliant audit planning in this hotel in November 2014. Moreover, through Spemp-B project, we have assisted different audit experts in conducting ISSAI compliant pilot audit. So far, 14 ISSAI compliant pilot audit reports have been produced in 2 rounds and 5 more pilot audits are under progress in first round in diverse fields. Particulars of the report produced so far are 6 compliant audits, but this is not an easy task. For this, some field level and some corporate level actions and preparations happen. Mr. Deming will deliver presentations on their experience from previous pilot audits and their expectations. Before that, I must congratulate you all for attending this program despite.
Thank you, sir. Now, there will be the first part of the presentation. Mr. Babu Shamla and Mr. Demi Adjidikbe. I'm requesting them to present. This presentation will be on the experience from round 1, 2, 3 pilot audits and about the prospect of round 4 and 5. Mr. Bob and Mr. Demi, please.
Bob on the line, so standing out. The OCAG for the effective delivery of some of the current and the subsequent audits. Of course, we have a line that we are taking to make this presentation. Now, just talking about the structure is we're going to have basically 6 topics. Why do we have this pilot audit? Obviously, as we have been commissioned to be part of the delivery team for the improvement of methodologies at the OCAG. The pilot audit, we believe, will enable us to demonstrate and to practicalize what we have been given in the classrooms, so that the teams will have the opportunity to really bring to standardization across the board. And so it's so important that if the OCAG one of the features of the new methodology is emphasis on internal control. And that is so key in the sense that methodology requires that they go beyond that. They not only just identify the controls, the organizations they are auditing, and obviously that would be that will add value and will increase, show the teams how to use these manuals, so that it's not just sitting on the shelf, but it's a practical and living piece of work. So, and the next one is we want to talk about what has been done so far. I will not want to repeat what Honorable Project Director has said, because he has actually covered what we've discussed so far and what we've covered so far. The 5 pilot audits that are currently in progress and the manuals that have been developed and are currently being reviewed. But what I like to bring out in this is the slide on the coverage across the directorate, because that is very important to talk to. You will see that in varying degrees we have actually touched all the directorates in one way or the other. With some, we have directorate within the OCAG has been involved in the pilot audit to a very great degree. Actually started as one manual, but it's now 2, which has been broken into forensics and investigation manuals. So we've even gone beyond what we promised, which is a good thing. Obviously we need to enhance skills of the auditors, especially we're talking of the auditors that have been involved in the pilot audit. 1 or 2 things in terms of skills improvement. For instance, when we started engaging with the team, sometimes you have this, if a particular statement or figure has been produced by the computer, how can it be wrong? Or that, well, the management gave us this, so it should be right. Over time, we made it clear to them in terms of the use of skepticism to not just take things on face value, but as auditors, you need to also do your work to actually establish the integrity of any information that has been given to you or that you intend to use in your audit. So, and that I believe they have taken that away, and that will have also helped them in their subsequent audit in terms of making sure that they just don't take things on face value. Also, in terms of enhancement of skills, they also sometimes have this information or this statement regarding internal control, and they just say, well, this organization has no internal control system. But we made it clear that, look, you just cannot make that statement unless you've actually done some work. You should make a conclusion after you informed information after you've done the necessary work. So these are the ways we try to bring to the table the more use of audit techniques, and we're so pleased that the team members are taking this on board. The second one is the increased awareness on ISSAI and audit assertions. The requirements of ISSAI are so prescriptive. It requires the auditor to, precept by precept, to take certain steps so as to bring standardization and uniformity across their audit work. And now the team, every time they're carrying out any assignment, they are thinking in terms of what are the ISSAI requirements for this area, maybe for planning, for field work, for reporting. More importantly, when we started, especially the first round of pilot audit, there were issues with planning. I'm not suggesting by any stretch of imagination that there are no planning work done at the OCAG, but what we are saying is the ISSAI requirement expect us to have a more robust way of planning our audit in such a way that whoever is looking at the work will know that a good amount of work has been put into planning to make our audit, our field work and reporting more focused and more effective. They're spending quite a lot of time on planning now, on planning the audit work so that they are more precise and more focused in terms of what they want to do. Obviously not, but we are still moving forward. Okay. Of course, the use of enhanced and modernized audit techniques, data analysis, the audit teams, they've been involved in the use of one form or the other of data analysis tools like IDEA, especially Excel, to be able to break down their data and to select their samples. Obviously, at the initial stages, there were difficulties, but the team members over the time became more enthusiastic about it, and they're actually at making effective use of these tools. And that's a big success. Reside in each auditor, not in the organization. So we're really involved in the audit. We should be able to take the audit file and review the file and come to audit. We're still having some issues with those, but we have gone a long way. So,
while I'm mentioning the logos down the bottom, I would just like to mention that we are a consortium, and SEPFA is part of the consortium, and we're lucky enough to have our current component 2 leader, which is from FEMA, Jane Quarrell, and her predecessor, Nicola Campbell, both here today at the back there, so they just want to wave. So welcome to them. Nice that they can come along to our event. This event is largely about component 1, about applying audit principles, but we're a joined up project, and clearly professional training is part of that, because professionally trained staff are better capable of delivering ISSAI compliant audits. So we're really joined up. The 2 components of it really do work together, and they're both important. So I think we shouldn't forget what they do as well. It's good that they're here, and I hope they're able to contribute later. Really, I just wanted to say also that I first came here to Bangladesh in July 2012, so that's about 2.5 years ago now. So while we're actually going to the issues, because we have had some issues, and I think that's normal. Pilot auditing is all about trying things out and seeing where things work, seeing where things don't work. seeing that things could work better. So I think that's what today is all about in this first session, really trying to identify those things where we could make it work even better for the rest of this round, and looking forward to rounds 4 and 5. So that's really where we want the input of all of you around this table. And so just a few thoughts from us. There probably are more things, so please don't think this is an exhaustive list. I think today is all about really getting your engagement. So first of all, engagement of Director Generals. Some Director Generals are new, so I think it was particularly important to have this event at this time to really brief you, to introduce you to what we're doing as a project on Spemp-B. So I think that there's not a criticism that the Director Generals could have been more involved. I think we want to take Okay, we have kind of inevitably that we have lost some team members to other tasks. I know that there are other things to do. I know as OCAG, you're short-staffed, you have other priorities, so I appreciate that. So, but we have lost team members, so really that we would say that is an issue. When we lose team members, that does lose momentum sometimes on our audits. So that is something I would just put on the table. It has been an issue. It has been an issue in earlier audits as well, not just this round, rounds 1 and 2, it's happened too. So just one thing to note. I guess it's kind of inevitable, but can we keep it to a minimum? Ideas on the table here for you with these slides, so let's talk about it later. We did mention earlier that really to get most out of the pilot audits, myself and Mr. Demi, we learned 1 or 2 words of Bangla, but not very much. So I'm afraid we do need English language skills just so we can communicate with the pilot auditors. If they don't speak very much English, I think the benefit they get out of attending those pilot audits is not so much, because things have to be re-explained to them in Bangla, it takes more time. So really English language skills are very important. I'd say with the IT skills there are some notable exceptions. Some staff I've had on pilot audits don't even know how to open a spreadsheet, so that's not really very easy for them to do it. When we're talking about ISSAI compliant audits, we're really using modern methodology, we're using a lot of electronic methodology, electronic forms, MMS, now they've had the training, and I think very few have actually put anything onto MMS yet, even though we've done a lot of the planning already. So really things do need to be put on MMS as they're done. So that is really something going forward. I think that we do need more compliance. We need really all of these audits from the start to be put on AMMS, and then the field work needs to be put on AMMS, and the reporting. It shouldn't all be done after the event. It should be done as you're doing it. That was the whole idea of AMMS. So that's really a plea that needs to be used more. Extension in 3 rounds of pilot audits. It's really a much more accelerated program of pilot audits than we've had in rounds 1 and 2. So basically the deadlines are really tight, and if we're going to have rounds 4 and 5 before the project finishes in June of next year, June 2016, I think they feel that if they're doing less, that doesn't look very impressive, but I would just say, well, missing your deadline's not very impressive either. So that's really something that really has to be kind of, we have had some delays due to hardtails. We're on a hardtail today. There's been an acceleration of these hardtail programs, and it is disruptive. Myself and Mr. Demi have found it difficult to come into the office during hardtail. We can't really do it. We're very grateful that arrangements have been made for the pilot auditors and our senior national consultants to visit us in the hotel during the hardtail period. But I think half the team that have done an audit before, they can help the others. And I think that's kind of really part of doing piloting, because we want to have experts, and then the experts can explain to other people how to do ISSAI compliant audits, because that's going to work then after this project is finished. We have a finite life for this project. It ends in June 2016, and so we need experienced people to be able to train others, to teach others how to do ISSAI compliant audits, because we want sustainability of this project. We want sustainability of ISSAI compliant audits going forward after this project finishes. 1, 2, 3, myself and Mr. Demi, other NAO UK people have delivered the training, so we're looking to take more of a backseat and just supervising on them to deliver, because then that's sustainable. After our project finishes, they can carry on training people, so that's the idea. We want a cadre of experienced trainers after this project finishes for sustainability. So those are the things that we kind of, there are expectations, so maybe hopes as well as expectations. There might well be other things, so really over to you now. So I think we've spoken enough. I've gone slightly over time, so sorry about that. So now it's to say round 3 and future rounds of pilot audit success. How do we do it? So what actions? Maybe we can separate it into 2 things. What actions are needed by Director Generals? So,
Mr. Jahood, please. Mr. Jahood, is it audible? Please remind everyone that we have got only 40 minutes for the next item. So questions should be concentrated on certain things. Remind everyone before we start.
Put here, it's all from the DGs and the for protection from OCAG. Do you think that only these two answer can make us moving faster, other than the people who are the key people on this project and the consultant, national and international? Is it not essential to have their role to be very active and prominent?
But really going forward, I think the key people need to be the Director Generals, the team leaders, because this project is going to finish in June of next year, and we're not going to be here anymore, so we won't be key people anymore after that. So really the key people will become yourselves, that's everyone around this table. So really you are the key people going forward, so you need to take this forward. So I think we need to kind of handing over this next year and a half, I would suggest. So stopping us being the key people and you becoming the key people.
Slide 3, success, last item.
Yeah.
New template for audit reports including opinion on audit. I think it should have been included in the manual also. No, their matter, it is also reviewed, and the committee has recommendation. We are working on that. Because minimum should include this template also. Is it there?
So I guess no, let's see if it does.
Right.
Morning and evening or only one session for them. If they intentionally absent there, that should be informed to the DGs and relevant authority. And another thing, lack of participation of those who have done previous audit. I have some difference of opinion on this because it is our learning process, learning through doing. Same people should not continue piloting in every resource. New people should be involved and they should learn. I think this process is better than involving previous teams. As regards English language, you know English is our second language. And we always try to put best people in pilot team. They might have some lacking on English. You can take some initiative for the English language if you need so, because we have our own office. We already suffered in our normal office work, and we cannot do better than what we are doing now. If you need better English, you can take some initiative for English language for that for a few days. Another one, AMMS. Already all team members have been properly trained on AMMS. But here, but very little has been put on AMS yet. I think Honorable Auditor General is very serious about the use of AMMS. In every monthly meeting, every DG has to explain the progress of use of AMMS in every office. So I think all pilot audit teams should ensure that they are properly using AMMS, all the modules of AMMS. Otherwise, this piloting will not help us for introduction of AMMS at every stage. And last one, as regards issues, choice of audit entity and scope of audit is key to achieving deadline. But team have been reluctant to reduce scope from that originally envisaged. I think it should be taken with the authority. Team will work with the order issued by Auditor General. I think if there is any difference of opinion, it should be taken with the authority. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jashin. A long list of points. I thought some very good points, so thank you for that. Your first suggestion, incorporating the reporting template into the audit manual, I think that's an excellent idea. I don't think that's one we've done so far, so I think we can put either a template or maybe an actual example report, or maybe both. And I think that's something that we definitely should do. I think that would be quite useful, so people can understand how they should report. So I think that we definitely will do that. So good suggestion, thank you. It's kind of a shame the team leaders missed that, and I think their experience or the training would have been a lot richer if they'd been able to attend the afternoon session. So I think it was a bit of a shame that they were too busy to attend that, because they're going to be supervising later, they're going to be reviewing later, they really need the knowledge of ISSAI compliance to be able to do that effectively. So I think going forward, maybe, I think everybody should attend all the training at least, even if they're busy, would be my suggestion. You mentioned about learning through doing, and that's personally how I learn best too. I totally agree, that's what pilot audits are all about. Yes, it's good that new people join pilot teams and learn, but also I think it's good to have some people going through and learning.
Before selecting the topics, we can refer the topics to, we have a team named DG Forum, including all the Director Generals of all the audit directorates. There is a DG Forum, and the senior most DG is the convener of the DG Forum. If the topics are referred to the senior most DG, he can convene a meeting of the DGs, and in the DG Forum, the topics may be discussed, so that we can avoid too much complicated topic and overlapping of topic. And then I think the selection of topics will be better, and we can avoid this situation. Thank you.
To give our input as to the suitability of those topics for pilot audit. I just want to also address one of the issues raised by Jason in the scope of the audit. We should also not lose sight of the fact that this is a pilot audit. Pilot audit is a training exercise. We should always focus on what the objective of the exercise is, rather than making pilot audits using pilot audit to deliver the regular audit.
Long list of memories. The degree of difficulty, which may seem to some of us quite high, is true, but all these were selected on the basis of not voting, but on the basis of consent at least. So after we have started something and almost halfway through to this, I think we know at this stage, of course, we can, like a patient, we can consult the physician as to the degree of difficulty that this is not quite understandable. You address this, you correct this, you treat this, but I suppose this is not abandoned right now. And as Mr. Shamrat has said, because this is a learning exercise, so some of the parts should be more difficult than the others. Otherwise, a standard or uniform approach of learning something new and difficult would not be there in the minds of the DG as well as of the pilot team. So this is the way we have to proceed.
Thank you. You have mentioned about 5 audit manuals. You have mentioned that these manuals are being field tested and reviewed. Could you please give us a time frame by which we will be able to see the final?
Sent those manuals back to OCAG. So if there's any more that we need to do, then no, that has not been communicated to us. As far as we're concerned, those manuals are with the OCAG.
Can we come to the issues and concerns, very specific? Is it the planning stage, in the reporting stage, or the execution stage, or the every week meeting, or periodical meeting? At what stage? We have to have a very specific idea, or the issue-based meeting with the disease.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's kind of very much kind of having an ownership of these pilot audits, and really I want the DGs to recognise that they own these pilot audits, that we are here to help, but they don't belong to us as international consultants and as senior national consultants, that we're just assistants really. And so I think that if you own an audit, then I would suggest that really you want to be involved at each key stage of that audit. So you do want to be involved at planning stage, and probably involvement at planning stage doesn't just mean reviewing the plan after it's been produced, but I think actually while it's being produced to really have a bit of a steer so that you get a plan that you want in the first place. So I would suggest some active involvement during the planning, which I think probably means meetings. And then during the fieldwork stage, the teams are off in the field. Quite often that's outside Dhaka, and I think it would be really nice if the DGs could visit the teams in the field just occasionally, even if it's just once, just to sort of show that they have the engagement and they have the interest, and maybe if you do it at a kind of fairly late stage of the fieldwork, so you can discuss some emerging findings and really come to a sort of joint agreement on which of those findings are important and how to raise them. I think that would be really helpful, and we haven't seen that before. And then obviously at the reporting stage, I think regular discussions through that reporting period, not just the review of the report after the team have produced it, because then if you're not happy with the report, it's a bit late to be changing it. Really, you want to be changing it at relatively early stage. So I would say active involvement of the DGs all the way through. That's what I'd like to see. Whether you think that's practical, I know you're busy people.
What corporate actions are needed across OCAG? Over this point, I have some observation. I think that oil circulation of needful ISSAIs, as it is or in a customized form, may be circulated in a booklet form or in other manners with some brief explanations across the department may help tremendously in this case, and you can think about this. Thank you very much.
Our project consultants went to us with our national consultant, Mr. Nobi, and they have talked about one project, one program, audit program, which has been designed on City Corporation, Dhaka City Corporation, and they have sought our means assistance from my department, and they also asked me to cooperate, or in another sense, they have asked me to supervise the audit team which will conduct audit in that organization, and they have asked me to supervise the audit team which will go there and what they will do and whether doing it right or wrong. All these things are done. Here I want to say one thing, that DGs have been asked to supervise, but to my sense that it is the project which has been asked to design all the programs to conduct the audit, and I think they will do everything. So when they asked me to supervise the audit team, because I am lending my cooperation assistance to them, and whenever they tell me that one officer of the audit team from my department is not going there, that I can say that, but whether it is my responsibility to supervise the audit team as my own work or not, whether it will be a dual supervision or responsibility, that I did not understand so far. Second thing, sir, simultaneously I have also got one audit report in Bengali. But to me, the report which has been written in Bengali is far better. And for that reason, I want to mean that audit report should be prepared in Bengali, though it can be prepared in English or used by some foreigner or some persons. Second, the audit report which is presented to the DGs for issuing to the auditing organization. We know that in our government offices, Bengali is the language which is generally used. So we are supposed to issue the audit report which has been prepared in Bengali, but officially and formally we are supplied with the English version. So what shall we do here? Whether we shall issue the Bengali version, though it has been directed informally from the audit part, or we shall issue the audit report to the audit organization in English, with English version.
Here, just to train the pilot audit parties about the new methodologies. That is the ISSAI compliant audit. So when the pilot audit has been selected and the work is being started, at that time, naturally the national consultant or international consultant, they will see the respective directors. Because to inform you that we are here to facilitate, we are here to give assist the new methodology. So what should be done? The DG must do. So on the basis of that, normally especially what the DG already has said now, it is expected that because letter of engagement, first submission of letter of engagement to the respective principal accounting officer. So it is expected that the DG will prepare and he will make arrangement with the principal accounting officer, so that concerned national international consultant along with the pilot audit leader, of course the DG also will accompany there. So this is the thing we used to try to arrange to the concerned DG. And after that, as the pilot audit parties has been given the training. So what the training they have taken so far and what the steps should be taken by the concerned DG. So this is the responsibility of the national or international consultants to inform the concerned DG. Accordingly, when the pilot audit party, because there is so far the ISSAI compliant audit is concerned, an important part is that is collection of data collection. So for the data collection, because it is very important for the planning stage. So for that reason, it is expected that the program is being arranged or made by the concerned DG. So this is naturally the national consultant or national consultant, they will seek the assistance of the Director General because the related pilot audit party must go through all the activities that is being needed for the data collection. So it is needed to supervise the concerned pilot audit parties. This is the thing. This is the thing we expect. Thank you.
Out from the purview of DG's jurisdiction,
Yes.
then it will not be successful. So DG should take the responsibility.
May I add something to this? Actually, Mr. Mahatab has assumed responsibility of the present position quite recently. This is one of the reasons why he asked this question. The thing is, of course, the supervision can be dual because you are also in the learning process. But the very pilot auditing, the theme of the pilot auditing has always been selected on the basis of mutual discussion with respective DG. So your predecessor agreed to what they are doing now. This is one. And about the vernacular and English language problem, this should be a problem because there is always one of the local consultants to help you out in this. And this English is not very difficult. These are technical jargons usually. And because each of the local consultants has had long experience of working in one of the audit directorates in our department, so it is expected, plus they have been hired also for this purpose, that they will facilitate things for the team leader of the pilot audit team and his juniors who are expected to have a core command of English language, of course. But for doing this kind of job, this is not going to be very difficult or high degree. And your another question the issue of the report in English or Bangla. Yes, yes. That's not a problem because the local consultants are there how to make this. And another thing, as you raised, very important, that is the members of the staff who have been put in the minor auditing teams. They have not been taken out of the nominal role of any office for a particular bracket. They are always belonging to the respective DG's office. So it is very natural that you will have to supervise that work. But in doing this, you will have the right of consultation both to the expanded and as well as to the local executive. Because otherwise the ownership will not be there. You may be transferred, new incumbent may be coming in, but the corporate memory or institutional memory must be there. Otherwise, how can we build up and improve things? That is the purpose.
If he has any authority to make correction or edit.
Absolutely.
No. I think this should be answered very properly because this has been done by the project. Maybe it's a product of the disease himself. It is his property. But the thing has been supervised, made, everything done by the international consultant and national consultant. If anything done by the DG, and if the consultant are not satisfied, there should be a conflict of interest here. So I think it should be made clear. If the thing completely done by the national consultant, by the audit team, and approved by the international consultant, it is always there is an approval. Even the audit planning is by designed by the international consultant with the help of the team and the national consultant, and finally approved, and the works then go for action. So the report is also done by them. Now, if the DG, I think it should be clear if he has the authority actually to make any correction or edit. Thank you. We cannot say that he absolutely.
Please let me respond to that, please. Yeah, obviously, because the DG has the ownership of the whole audit, and obviously he has to review the work. If while you're reviewing, you do not agree with some of the points raised, I think before you take it out, it would be good if you can engage with us because that will help clear the issue, and we may be able to explain better the reasoning behind that particular point that has been put in the report. And obviously,
so far the report of illegal use of formalin and tamarind. So we had sessions with the disease, not only the disease, expert from the department. And he, on the report of the railway rehabilitation and rebuilding projects also. So the practice is going on.
And Mr. Bassett and Mr. Mahatab, let me clarify this. The thing is, whoever is conducting or supervising the audit is immaterial because each of them must follow the same criteria which will be available in the draft of final audit manual. So what's the problem? There can be the revolutionary difference between the draft and the final report because the people who learned the draft audit manual and then went out to field after having sufficient briefing and data collection, and the consultants being the supervisor of that, and yourself being also the supervisor of the draft they are improving, it is coming to the headquarters. Then you are conducting the quart. So there can be at least a basic difference between the two sets of people. It will be the same because we are working together to improve the situation. Right. This is not a problem.
During the reading of part 2, and we had been released, and I think lessons, the constraint they face, the problems they face, and the success they achieve should also be the basis of our future forward march. So under HMRP, many pilot audits are conducted. We had been disease. So we facilitate. It's a question of sustainability because this is very important. It is our project. The disease, they have to own it. There is no alternative. We facilitate. We arrange meeting under the principal secretary. and all the auditory organizations were present, as many as 50 or 60 at the very initial stage. So what happened, the ultimate day, the project at execution level, things became very easy because the auditory organizations, they rendered fullest cooperation because they know if they don't, they will be answerable to the principal accountant or the secretary. So I think, and maybe there are problems also. So I think the earlier the projects, the reports are very much available, and I heard it from the mouth of the finance secretary. They are all paid about some pilot audit projects that are very economic. So these audit reports are very much available. I think the audit people in the DGs, even the conservation council, they can study those reports and so that they can enrich their own plan of action for implementing the present project. This is very important.
So, may appoint by the proper documents. And the discussion rendered, they admitted my queries and some of the observations were dropped. It means the DG and the authority of the report that has been prepared by the project authority and placed to the DG officers. I think there is no anomaly between it. If it's a DG who can own it as far as the own choice and discretion.
This is the delegated authority of the Honorable Auditor General, who is busy. And if somebody raises this question, the report has been, somebody asked me to supervise. Supervise means that whether your auditors, those are, that is given to the parliament, whether they are attending in the classroom or whether attending in the training, that is to be supervised. Not that Mr. Mata or Mr. X will go to the field always and they will supervise.
If he can go.
Yeah, if you like,
on a sample basis he can go.
Yes, not always, because no, the diseases are always busy. Supervision means that kind of supervision, not that he will always be on that.
We can leave it to them.
And Honorable CNSG, I have another request, please, because every time we say that we have delivered 40 audits. Can it be actually presented, but individual report presented to the audience so that they can see what they have done? Just we are telling this story that we have produced. Not as a consultant, as I also belong to the Review of Many Directorates. So from my experience, I can also say that a lot of modern methodologies and technologies has been developed in the department. And there are boys, those who have learned so much, that can be also, I think, surprise to everybody. So I request the PD and also all the reasons they have. Particularly, I was involved in the financial audit. A lot of things have been done, and reports have been submitted, I think, to Works Audit, and also to the audit. So if we can present all those, I think things will be clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
There may do going to do 4 and 5, which is the advantages of improved reporting under ISSAIs, and also issues to consider for mainstreaming your ISSAI compliant audits. So it's really designed to stimulate your discussion, and then I'll leave you in February, so March is only 1 month off. So 1 month short of a year ago, there was this OCAG circular dated 9th of March on the implementation of ISSAIs, and I'm not quite activities, so that's really across all your work. And also the second quote, you're instructed to take immediate steps through effective communication, consultations and discussions with all concerned of Spemp-B project to settle any problem communication if noticed ineffective implementation of relevant ISSAI guidelines in audit activities. And I think really
how the overall situation within that particular organization, and whereas currently we report issue by issue basis, which may not give us the overall situation operating within the organization. So it's always good if you're reporting on the ISSAI, the requirement will force you to give a conclusion or an opinion, which helps in your stakeholder to hold the organizations involved to account. And also, when you're reporting under ISSAI, usually it's always good, it also enables you to give context to the issues that you're reporting. That way, again, this is something, this is a point that I've just been covered by Bob, because if you're just saying something has not worked, it's always good to, when you find an issue, it's always good to also give an indication of why that issue has occurred. That way, it forces, that will lead to recommendations which give the team, the organization that has just been audited, that if they take those recommendations on board, it will improve their internal control system and will stop operating
at the same level at the certificate. And there are quite a lot of students who've passed their certificates and who are not continuing with their studies. So maybe we could use some more of those to get them onto the pilot audit teams and share some of that knowledge. They will also have had some professional English training as a part of their studies. As they go through the qualification, they study the auditing standards that you're using and study financial accounting and the other issues further. And so they have a lot of depth of experience and knowledge that they could bring to your teams. And it may be possible that we could arrange short placements or something for some of those students, which would assist with your work and also help those with their exams.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jane. We also know we need to emphasize here, this is about mainstreaming the ISSAI compliant audit. This work, we only started off. The OCAG will need to continue even after the end of this project, because once the project ends, CIPFA team will not be here, we will not be here. The professionalization of auditors at OCAG will really help to ensure the quality of audit across the OCAG. The approach has to be consistent, entity-wide. So, and part of driving that consistency again goes with the development of quality assurance units at that point that they would see what is it that would need to be present in order for the organization to safeguard and secure its asset that's right. So, internal control. But now, the new requirement is they need to now document how their control operates, and they also ensure that the design of that control is right. Now, they can stop there if they are not going to place reliance on that control. But if they are going to, then they need to carry out a test. Now, this is not something we can put in a list. We can, what we can do, which is again,
safeguarding of asset like this. So there should be structured guidance, because if you prepared a guidance regarding the financial audit, maybe the GTCL,
right.
But in your recommendation, you can put what kind of internal control system should have been there. So this will be guidance for later on when we are doing audit regarding the financial audit. So we are expecting from you like this, and then if you go for working paper, so there should be a structured format.
That's okay.
What we can follow in our audit. Okay. So this kind of expectation we have from you people, the consultant, consultant.
Thank you.
Like this. And
that's
audit planning, there should be more structured format. Okay.
That's
so that we can follow later.
That's right. That's why we have this pilot audit. Again, auditing has moved from templates, from just completing, because I could, what should be the focus of an auditor is making sure that its working paper reflect the work that has been done and the conclusion. So it doesn't have to follow like a set template.
a generic one, right? Applicable for any organization, and considering or based on the judgment of the circumstances as well as the characteristics and operating activities of the organization, we will have to develop this. This can't find place in a manual, it is standardized manual.
Thank you.
That is why pilot prototype is going on.
That's
We learn from this, but you can put this into a manual.
Can I just come back on that?
Mr. Akhtar, as has already spoken that it is generic in general for organizations, but there are some specialties. For GTCL, every organization should not be uniform control system. It depends on the objective, functional system, management system of the organization. For GTCL, what should be the controls may not be in BTSC. But they cannot give you a structured template for any organization. But when you go through the audit planning in 1315 and 1330, that is to understanding the entity, all the control system is identified there. Because when you make the plan, you identify the control system of this. So I think it's not that difficult. When you go through the report already made and you go through the audit plan already conducted, you can have the control system of that particular organization.
Can I come back on this? How to test internal control. And so basically as part of the planning, it's very important to identify what controls are. We have a whole annex for our audit manual, for financial compliance audit manual, Annex C, on identifying internal controls. So therefore it is part of the methodology we're introducing, so a very important point to raise, and a good point. We're talking about mainstreaming here, not the pilot audits, so really I put down as an action for Director General, so you could say it's corporate action. Really we should ensure that all the audits in future do focus on internal control. And really, well, how do we do this? I would say every time you have a finding, you find an error, maybe a mistake, maybe a fraud. How did that error happen? Was there a weakness in internal control? So for everything in our reports, there should be an internal control kind of angle. Basically, we should say, well, what control was absent, what control was weak, that allowed this error to happen. For every single recommendation in reports in future, I suggest we should have this. And then we have a really constructive, value-added recommendation to improve that specific control. Not improve internal control in general, but that specific control. So actually, I think that's an action we can do, and I think that's at the Director General level. Every single audit, we should do this. Make sure that we have more focus on internal control, because we can add value more by doing that. So that's our first action point. Thank you. Okay, anything else? Any other action?
On internal control system, as it is being seen from here, you have already completed 14 complete audit reports, pilot audit reports. Can you come up with a batch of findings on entity based? What should be the main focus of internal control as you have seen here? What are the drawbacks, what are the concerns? So that the DGs in future planning, they can come up and highlight those very specific issues of concerns.
Thank you very much. Each report that has been produced under ISSAI, for those 14 pilot audits, each finding has a section for the cause of that particular observation. So that cause would be a weakness most of the time in the internal control of the organization. So we already have what you're asking for. It's already included in all the reports that have been produced on those 14 pilot audits that have been called. I don't know about performance audit, but for compliance and financial, when we have a finding, there's a section for cause of that observation, and then the effect of that particular finding, and then we make recommendation, as Bob has said, and it's the recommendation that if they implement, will correct the cause, which is the weakness, and then which will lead to improvement in their internal control system.
10%, 15%, and so on. And there should be a compliance to report to the Auditor General. How many organizations we have started with entity concept? And over a period, 5 years or 10 years, the 100% entity concept will move. Otherwise, it will not work properly. That's why I think the responsibility of this is to start with entity concept, 1, 2 organization, and every year to increase the number. That is the important responsibility of this.
Progress. So I think that's very clearly a DG action point, isn't it? So I'll put that on. Very good point. Thank you. Anything else? Yes, please.
There is also a need to incorporate a overall conclusion in the report. That is whether the report is qualified or unqualified or efforts with regard to compliance for that particular entity.
I think from our reports from now on, we can have an opinion. What's our overall opinion on compliance? Do they comply with the rules and regulations that we're looking at or not? Is it a sort of in between? Maybe they do with some, not with others. So we could give maybe the traffic light, up to you if you want to use the traffic light, but we should give a firm and authoritative opinion in our reports. And I think we can all do that with all reports now. We don't have to face that idea in, do we? I think we can do that now. So it's a quick win. Yes.
OCAG is a patient actor. Allowed is not our objective. It's a way to achieve the objective.
Yes.
So far we completed 14 audits.
Yes.
If I want to know where are those auditors, those completed audit for 9 months.
Yes.
So they are they involved in the ISSAI auditing or they are doing regular audit? If they take the training from the final audit, ISSAI audit, and then back to the director, they start with the regular audit. So ultimately we can implement ISSAI in our director. So my question is that DGs to involve their trained final auditors in the ISSAI audit. Otherwise, audit may continue for a long time, but will not mainstreaming ISSAI compliance.
In November, most probably in this building, while it was discussed about entity, what is entity, entity-wide audit. In that meeting, we have tried to define, to understand actually what is entity. Is it the organization? Is it the program? Or that has not been cleared up. As in that meeting, somebody had mentioned that there should be guidance or instruction to be issued to the directors as regards the
documentation.
Yeah, Danny.
Yeah, is it also possible as part of mainstreaming for FEMA to put up a training program on ISSAI specific? So it's like breaking down the big ISSAIs into smaller chunks that they will be able to use to challenge their team members. So yeah, I think it's very important. And it's not like...
We have the national module. You can just fine-tuning to incorporate this issue here.
I have meaning for it. But we need the training material.
I think, Joe, you can find mostly of those from internet. There are many areas where the subject matters are being used.
So we are working on it. Actually, it is a huge material. We need to structure it for delivering training. We structure document.
We can distribute it as per our requirement.
And why only it is all the levels?
Everybody is nice. But this is the ready level. No, 520. Well, we can search it out as per our requirements.
They are developing the material, and we are hopeful we will be able to get it by this month, and we can start training from next month.
Okay.
If requires those, I think there can be a board of members who can select and decide what should be useful for our purpose and how we can utilize it.
Okay, very good point about the auditor organisation.
And before that, we cannot go for closure until the Auditor General comes back. And I think, Mr. Bob, you can summarize your recommendations or remarks, and then we'll be waiting for the return of the.
These are all your ideas. They're not my ideas. They're all your ideas. So I'm going to summarise your ideas. Not my ideas.
One thing.
Yes.
So, one question.
Yes.
You say B, number B.
Yes.
The issues to be considered.
audit entities larger than auditable units. It is not clear to me. Cannot clear it. What does it mean? Audit entities larger than auditable units. In our perspective, in Bangladesh perspective. As it is that, if you go to the entity concepts, then what should be larger? The auditable units is larger, or the audit entities larger?
I will expect at the moment that the entities should be larger than the auditable units. I can use say Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock. That's a ministry that has the responsibility to report the activities, whatever is going on to the Parliament by the Secretary of that particular organization. Right. So, let's talk about Bassett, this was put on the basis of the experience what we have at the moment. You have about 8,000 auditable units. But if you now combine those into entities, they are not likely to be about that size. And that's why we are saying audit entities larger than auditable units. It is in that context, not in the context of, obviously an entity could be smaller than, but I will struggle to see how that can be at the moment. Of course, in relative terms, the auditable unit in one sector is
and Sonali Bank is entity. Now you come. If Sonali Bank is unit, Ministry of Division Finance, that is entity. Right. And he is rightly telling the entity is bigger than unit. Thank you. I think it is clarified. It is clarified.
You're going to have more performance audit, moving away from just doing compliance. So that's your DG actions. Noted up. Corporate actions.
And uncertainty of this project, So there was uncertainty and doubts about the continuation of the project any further, but fortunately, after only that few months, this could be, done by the Planning Commission finally. And besides the political trouble and turmoil that we have had gone through when this project was first started, have caused the loss of many valuable days, especially for the expected consultants. Many of the events could not take place on time, and then the usual, not red tapeism, but the usual time that is required in various branches of Bangladesh bureaucracy was also another cause why this is taking so long, what it seems that it is taking so long. Nonetheless, we have had a good amount of progress when it was during its first, instead of apportioning blame and responsibility to each other, it is essential that we understand the responsibility of each of us present here. One is the project director. Of course, he has done quite a lot, even then, I must say. The responsibility of assigning terms of reference to consultants as well as key stakeholders, that is directors general of each audit directorate, of course lie and should always lie with the project director in consultation with my office, which I am trying to give. But this stock taking, as it seems to me, sometimes I think it could be done better, and now we have an opportunity of doing this better. How? For example, some of the nature of questions which seem to me to be very primary, very seminal this morning here from some of the responsive officials appear that the general or uniform briefing maybe was not there. We should look into this from now on. And two, the role of the consultants, especially the local consultants. I try to make this clear as much as possible by issuing even circulars in Bengali on more than one occasions. I shouldn't say it has worked fully, but it is expected to deliver something more, especially as an interface between people who were selected in various pilot auditing teams. Their level of understanding, as it should have come down from the expected consultants through the local consultant, not only in terms of or in question of English language understandability, but in terms of professional understanding of the business. That is the operating activities that we do, that they are expected and are required to do in every pilot auditing, should be made more clear. And that is why we have arranged for this workshop today. Before going to the conclusion, I will emphasize on two things. One thing is the expected level of achievement, one, and two, responses from the auditee. What has been that coverage? That is not also very satisfactory. And this was not related with any political disturbance or the actual mandates and staff days that we could find available during the first phase of the project. More emphasis should have been given there. So it is now time to take stock of the situation, and in the upcoming days we must look into this and try to make a full coverage of this. This is possible. The other things, as discussed today, all are professional things, professional items already covered, and I believe and I expect, at least in the leadership level, this must be understood quite clearly. For example, the selection of the topics, this has always been done on the basis of consent from the key decision makers, that the directors on every occasion. In spite of the transfers that might have taken place in between, the number of which has not been very big on these small pieces, it has happened. So the perpetual inheritance of government offices from one person to another, this should have taken place perfectly. If this had taken place perfectly, then the level of the questions, which seem to be very primary sometimes, shouldn't have been asked. Even then, accommodate this. There may be some people, the level of understanding may not be equal for each and every one. But the thing is, ownership must be taken by the head of office. And you also must realize another thing, how much money we have invested on this. So this will be our responsibility to reinforce this and to disseminate this as much as possible, so that instead of a pilot or a unique exercise of auditing, it can be made generally to all the audit offices which we have taken into our fold of this project. This is on some frequency which will be determined later on. The action plan of each individual consultant. So this should be according to the bar chart as specified in the project document, but at the same time, who is doing what individually and how this is going to contribute towards the general attainment of our objectives must be made clear to the management. This has not always been forthcoming. From now on, please try to make this as clearly as possible accessible to me and my colleagues who work in the head office. The progress of the audit manuals, this is up. So I would like to see your plan. How are you going to compensate the time that we have already lost? Of course, due to nobody's responsibility. It has been done just an act of God, you could say, or for exigencies. Unless we have this plan, we will once again be in a position, we will be compelled to make an extension, a proposal of extension to the government, which is sometimes very embarrassing because we can't explain our inefficiency all the time. And it has happened in some crucial events. We had to reshuffle people at the top. And I think you understand what I mean by people at the top. The expectation is this, that with this reshuffle, a better result is expected. The definitions are already there. The people are there, workforce is there, all other resources are there. So there is no big reason why we should not be able to achieve the targets and objectives of this project by June 2016. So that's all I want to say to you. And I thank Mr. Shemla and his colleague for the nice presentation today. Mr. Denny, yes. And also the consultants who contributed quite a lot, plus my colleagues who asked questions and had clarifications from the assembly, plus who showed eagerness for carrying this forward for actually our objective. I think this spirit should be there, and any assistance and cooperation and administrative intervention that will be required from my office will offer. Yeah. There is no problem of monetary resources or intellectual property. So what's the problem? The problem is coordination, a deep understanding between all the stakeholders. And that is the job of the leadership. And this leadership will not always come from the office. The Director General is enough for this, should be enough for this. Because if we take the situation of the completed pilot auditing, if this could be done, so this can be made better and this can be replicated. That's the lesson of the class. But the thing is, we must be on a better pace. And if there are any problems, instead of sitting idle of that, let me know where the problem lies. And we'll try to shoot this as best as you can. So thank you for your participation and contribution. I wish this project Godspeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Comptroller and Auditor General, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to request you to join the lunch now, and we have already announced the conclusion of the conference.